Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a Quiet Place fan.
Hi, I'm Senthil, and I'm a Bird Box fan.
So the two of us have decided, since we disagree, we're going to start watching as many horror movies as we can and come up with a new way of rate them. Come join us.
I feel like something bad has happened. It hasn't reached me. And it's getting closer.
All right. Hey, good afternoon, Senthil. It's good to see you again.
Hi, Scott. Good to see you too.
Hey, so I've been it's really interesting. Last week our two movies kind of collided,
Yeah,
and this week it looked like these two movies that we don't know what each other's going to choose for each other have
yeah,
collided as well. Both of them are this mockumentary kind of, camera, hidden camera kind of thing going on. Which I thought was just so bizarre when you sent that to me. This week we've got Mungo Lake and we have JeruZalem.
yeah.
Both of these films are, I think you would consider these found footage films, but with a
Yeah.
little bit of a twist. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Jerusalem. One of the things we talked about last time was that we're going to take the perspective of the reason we enjoy movies is because it evokes some sort of emotional response in us, good or bad. And so I'd love to hear what your emotional response, if any, was to Jerusalem.
So here's the challenge I had, Cynthia, with Jerusalem was I think they were trying to do a first person like Cloverfield,
Yeah.
and it just didn't work. The idea was there. They were using Google glasses,
Yep.
and you were seeing everything through the perspective of the person wearing those glasses. So everything taking place was being filmed by this person in the glasses. The challenge I had, especially like with first person, it feels very much like a video game, and which I'm not going to give away anything, but there's these little hints towards that as you're going into this movie. But when you're in a first person, you're seeing things this through their eyes. It has been very hard for me to get into a movie like that. Now it worked for me in Cloverfield, and I'm not exactly, I can't tell you why it worked for me in that. Maybe it was just better creatures and stuff, so things were happening. This movie, I didn't really get any sense of terror or horror or this feeling of dread until I'd say maybe half an hour at the end, the half hour ending.
Yeah.
And during that moment in time, Cynthia, there were little bits of it that were like when they end up going down into the catacombs,
Yeah.
it gets this creepy vibe, this creepy flavor to it. I just couldn't get over the the actors did not project this feeling of terror. It felt more like it was you and I talking over a YouTube video. Oh my gosh, watch out. Here it comes, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of first person found footage movies. I find them jarring. In some cases, it can even cause disorientation and nausea when you're watching it through the first person. And I found it irritating that the Google Glass apparently she wears it all the time, no matter what
I,
she's doing,
Constantly.
which is unrealistic. Um, and I thought the found footage didn't really work for me. I appreciated the concept, so it led me to dig up what the background behind the movie was. And this movie apparently was made for $160,000,
Wow.
extremely low budget. So it kind of I'm sure I don't know how they actually filmed, but very low budget. I thought they did a pretty good job at the end of the day with that little money. My suspicion is the actors are novice to acting in movies, so I
Yeah,
think
I
that
did look up
explains
at
some of
that.
that.
This was the only movie they were ever in.
Yeah,
For 160,000, there were the demon effects
yeah,
weren't
yeah,
bad. They were
yeah.
creepy. They,
Which, and I'm curious what your perspective on. You mentioned the word demon, but clearly you would assume by looking at the title it's a zombie movie. So is it a zombie movie or is it a demon movie?
so Reagan, who watched a part of it with me, um, because she thought it was going to be a zombie film. You see a big Z in the middle of something, you
Yeah,
immediately go zombie. Um, I didn't pick it up as a zombie film, man. I picked it up as, especially, and I don't want to give anything away at the ending, but you know what happens at the ending pretty much makes it clear we're not talking zombies here. We're talking, although maybe it's a different mutation type of zombie, I guess, Synthol. I mean, a new creation.
Yeah, because what was odd and inconsistencies in the story, you the the term demon is thrown around, but apparently you can become a demon if you get scratched by one. So I thought that was a little bit delving into both types of movies.
Yeah, and one of the other reasons why I thought it was a demon was the prologue talks about three gates to hell, right?
Yes, it
One on
does.
land, one in the
Yep.
ocean, and one in Jerusalem. So I
Yep.
immediately went, okay, so we're dealing with demons. Now, I will say, there's a little bit of sexy time in it.
Yes.
Not bad, but it's very quick. But it's ruined by the fact that her dad is texting her through her glasses, and so you're seeing this text through the glasses over here while they're bouncing the bed over here. And it was really disjointed. And as a dad, I'm sitting there going, wow, that doesn't make that hot at all. That kind of destroys it. Um, the other area that I thought they could have played into better, and they did a horrible job, was this whole, what did they call it, Synthol? The not was it Jerusalem syndrome, where people come and they think that they're hearing the voice of God
Yeah,
or whatever,
I
and they
think
end
so.
up in these mental institutions, right? So,
Yep,
and I really thought we were going to go someplace with that,
I did
and to
too.
me, that would have been pretty incredible, because it was this whole idea of, well, yeah, what if you go there and suddenly one of the characters said a great thing. If you're speaking to God, that's one thing, but if God is speaking to you, you know, you're going to end up going in here for a while. And there was just this brief moment where they go into this hospital, but I think there was so much loss there that could have been, this whole idea of the Jerusalem syndrome was talked about, but they never delved into it. But
It definitely, I think I got kind of the impression that they used Jerusalem as a way to attract zombie fans, and they switched track to some potentially, without giving anything away, something else, demons.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, to you, was this your Quiet Place or Bird Box?
So this is more of a bird box, and I thought it had potential, and I was disappointed it didn't take avenues I believe it could have taken to really be a, I'm not going to say it was going to be a quality horror movie, Synthol, but it would have been better than it is. The whole things we were talking about, the Jerusalem syndrome, the whole, introducing this idea, and again, on a limited budget, you can't do it. But this, the demons or the zombies or what they are, a little earlier, because we don't even get into any of that
Yeah.
until almost we're at the end of the movie.
Yeah, to me, this is more of a Quiet Place. I thought a significant percentage of the movie was wasted and focused too much on the individuals who were not really engaged. It seemed like spring break in Jerusalem. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a bit odd. The characters are irritating. This is one of those movies where I thought they should all just die early and get it over with.
Yes.
There were so many
Especially the
bad
main character.
decisions. Oh yeah, there were several instances thinking, okay, now they're buying into the classic horror movie. Let me go stick my head in the dark closet kind of decision that
Yeah.
aggravated me. So to me, this is more of a Quiet Place because I did not enjoy it. I thought they did a great job with the money that they had. Um, and it could have been something a lot more at
Yeah.
potential, but it was a misfire.
So I have to ask you a question. Would you have chased that? If so, would you have chased, you've never been to the city before, your wallet is stolen. Would you have run through the streets
No
of
chance.
of an unknown in the dark? No.
Not a chance.
Again, that's
Not
one
a
of those things
chance.
you and I have talked about. The only way this works is by that. But even with that happening, there was no value add to that. It was just
Right.
filler. I mean,
Yep.
what was the point? I mean, I couldn't even understand at that. Anyway, let's move on to the next movie because I'll start
So
getting frustrated.
that's a good segue into Lake Mungo.
Yes.
What is your emotional reaction to Lake Mungo? How long has it been since you saw it, first of all, and then what was your reaction?
So I've never seen it before.
Oh,
I just saw it right before that's why I suggested it to you. I love this film. So it is a found footage film.
Hmm.
with a little bit of a twist. So it's found footage turned into what I would consider a documentary, right?
Yeah.
And it's really about this family trying to discover what happened to their daughter.
Yeah.
And I will say that it disturbed the living hell out of me. Now, I was watching it alone, I had the lights off. I thought the music was really well done.
Hmm.
I thought the buildup was incredibly well done. I mean, at first I was going, well, this is kind of going a little slow, but then I started to see what they were doing. And the payoff to me was scary as hell. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that movie. Now the problem is, could I watch it again? Probably not, because I already know what happens, and so that edges off. But there are scenes in that film which are very disturbing.
Uh, I definitely had a strong reaction to it, similar to what you did, and some of the contributing factors or elements that we've discussed are what make horror movies effective. The movie music, the background music, the scene music
Yes.
was extremely effective. While we don't traditionally talk about cinematography, the scene compositions were frightening, definitely
Yes.
scary. And the reason I said this is a good segue into our conversation about JeruZalem is because what I liked about this was the atmospheric effects that I experienced watching it. It's the experience of
Yes.
watching the movie. I did not care much for the plot. I don't think the plot held together. They changed directions multiple times. That's not unusual, but I don't know that it was effective. At the end of the day, at the end of the movie, I thought they left a lot of open questions. And I didn't feel that the story worked for me. It didn't make any sense. So because of that, while I found a lot of elements about the movie, like music and how scary it was, and how effective it was, and I was watching this when I originally started watching this a couple of nights ago. I was laying in bed and Babs has already gone to sleep, and I'm watching on my phone with my headphones on. I got down to maybe the last 15 minutes and it's pitch dark. I said, no, I'm not going to watch the rest
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
I'm waiting until tomorrow, the daytime.
But well, it was that buildup, right? And you
Yeah.
knew something bad was going to happen. Now, something one of the things you were talking about, the story flow, what I found fascinating about the story flow was there are some things that happen with their daughter that they can't explain and they don't understand.
Yep.
To me, it all comes to full circle at the end.
Yep.
And the reason being is, if you knew what she knew, what would you do? Basically, is what it was, right? So I, it's hard to talk about this film without giving something away, and I don't
But
want to.
let's talk about a specific scene that's not necessarily a spoiler. She hides her phone and personal belongings in a tree somewhere in the middle of the night. What was the
Yes,
reason for all of that?
I think she realized that um, the things she thought had value did not have value. That's what I got out of it, right? So it was this whole. She suddenly realized that she placed too much value on these worthless things,
Yeah.
and so she disposed of them. She got rid of them. And as you've stepped back and listened to the conversations about what the father is saying, the mother is saying, what we are seeing is an unfolding of somebody who realizes fate and is trying to take advantage of that, but at the same time is dealing with the fact that this fate is about to happen. And so for me, by the end of it, number one, I loved all the misdirection throughout this film. There's so much misdirection, and I wouldn't even call it misdirection. They do a great job of averting you from focusing on certain things, only to come back later and surprise the living hell out of you. And if you wait till the end credits, and I don't know, did you watch the end credits
I
when they
did.
start to? Yeah, I was like, so I went back and rewatched those scenes, and guess what? That was there the whole
Yeah.
time. Your eyes are drawn to a different location, right? Your just eyes are drawn to a different location. So I felt this was all about closure. This was all about having the opportunity. No, God, you can't talk about the film, right? Because
Well, closure is a good term.
yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, though, you are aware of a fate, and so therefore you are able to plan towards that. And for me, that is where the parents and the brother couldn't understand, because she never talked about any of it, but she knew. And so she basically, did everything she did based off of that. So for me, it came full circle at the end.
But that statement, the comment is a very subtle characteristic to pick up, that because there are two layers to this horror movie. There's the clear supernatural elements, and then the horror from a parent point of view of not really being aware of what your child has been going through, and
Yes.
because you weren't aware, not having been there for your child, and the horror that they're dealing with after they're discovering. So it's a multi-layered term. It's a statement movie about, I think, about parents and their relationship with their kids.
Yeah.
At the same time, they add a lot of complexity from the supernatural elements to enhance that message. And what you just said, that everything she did because of what she knew,
Right.
is not real obvious unless you're paying attention to the movie. So I thought they did a good job.
Yeah. I agree. So, Senthil, for next week, I have a doozy for you. It's the new Nicolas Cage. You can thank me for it later. Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland.
It's available on Amazon. You'll have to
Okay.
rent it. It's a whopping $4.99. You'll be thanking me for a little Nick Cage.
Let's see if you've seen this movie. There's a Kurt Russell movie called Bone Tomahawk. Have you seen it?
Love Bone Tomahawk.
Oh,
But I tell you, I'd be willing
yeah.
to watch it again if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. It has some
Okay.
unique elements to it. I'd love to discuss it.
Okay, excellent. For those of you watching, we want to thank you for your time. Also, you can go over and catch our blogs if you are not interested in listening to the whole video. It's www.oflon.org. Synthil, we'll see you next week.
See you next week, Scott.